I just have to say, the power of Dragon Maid is interesting, because when I got up this morning, I was like, you know what, feeling a little tired, just out of it mentally, not sure if I want to do videos today. Maybe I'll do a double review next week, but I was like, Dragon Maid's just so good, I don't know if I want to wait 2 weeks to see the new episode, so I gave it a go. Immediately perked me right up. Dragon Maid is medicine, and I have to say, I was not expecting more Fafnir already, nor was I expecting Fafnir content where he used Nguyen as a model reference for what he was making, and I think we all assumed what he was making at first was very much on the dark side of the internet upon basically you'd want to have a VPN active if you're going to look at something like that. It was provocative and, you know, it was jailbait worthy. And what they ended up doing with it, with the horror aesthetic and the twistedness, is completely in Fafnir's line of thought. And the fact that we had most of this episode dedicated to that side of things, I mean, sure, the first half is kind of like that, with the second half being a mixture of the idea of dragons and what it means to sleep / a cute ghost hunting adventure that ends in a weird fairy capture, which we'll definitely touch upon. But I found the first half to be some of my favorite, if not my favorite thing I've seen in Dragon Maid Season 2 so far. Don't get me wrong, the character development last week was top tier, and there's been some really good character progression. But I don't think many people will get upset with me saying that something that entertaining might be my personal highlight of this season, when it was that ridiculously well done. I mean, the simpler moments like afterwards, because our girl here ends up making a photo shoot cosplay book, which Fafnir, of course, doesn't believe will sell. As soon as he said that and they transitioned to the otaku market, where you just see all the people with body pillows, I was like, Fafnir, my boy, it's you who's gonna be in for a rude awakening. And then you see our little boy here just, like, almost getting tempted by the devil from his point of view, almost going full, like, headfirst into the magazine before throwing it away in disbelief as Nguyen is just so upset. The comedy between these characters is absolutely top tier, but I wasn't expecting Fafnir to go so into the twistedness, but it makes sense, right? I mean, he's kind of the most twisted main or side character we have in this show right now, and it's pretty damn fantastic. When they were building it up, I was like, okay, maybe that's just Fafnir. I mean, we've already seen it on Nguyen's side last week, talking about how dragons don't see age and kind of like that whole concept, so maybe that's what he's going to make, and I wasn't sure how far they were going to push it. And then when they went the almost horror route, where instead of like provocative scenes where the boy's actually flustered and enjoys it, instead he curses her and has all these horrifying imagery, and the fact that he makes her model poses. At first, I mean, there's some directing in this episode that is like some of the most provocative without showing anything. Like, he'll be saying things about spreading and doing certain poses, and then they'll transition to a peach, and then they'll transition to something else, and you can really tell where they're going with that line of thought. But then when they start talking about some of the horrifying, like, basically crawl on your back up the stairs, and they're focusing on some weird horror movie, I'm like, my man, what is going on in your brain? Maybe it's best you just keep playing MMOs. I think whatever you're about to create, the world isn't ready for yet. I mean, seriously, like, just the buildup of that, and just these two personalities, complete polar opposites, and there's no opposites attract here. They are completely different. But to see how they both, you know, Fafnir put so much work and probably so much thought into his crazy invention, where she just took a couple of photos and just see how easily she sold out. Honestly, everyone sold out other than Fafnir. And the fact that he ended up shipping her copy to this home, and to see our poor boy read it in disbelief because he probably sees himself in that. Oh my god, this show's fantastic. I gotta be honest, I was ready for an entire episode just dedicated to Fafnir, and I would have been completely there for it. I did have some people tell me last week that I guess this season's gonna be, 10 episodes actually? I thought it was a 12 episode season. So it is a little disappointing because I thought we were only midway through, but in fact we only have a few weeks left of this show. But I mean, quality over quantity always. Would I prefer 12 episodes? Of course, but if 10 episodes is the difference between getting a season 2 or not, I'll take 10 high quality episodes over 12 mix and match ones, right? So, do I think we're getting a season 3? Probably eventually, yeah. It's just we won't be able to do maybe as much as I thought we were going to in the second half. But still, I mean, this episode, just continuing to flesh out those side characters, putting Kobayashi and Toru more in a supporting role this episode once again, I think it's a pretty good sign that this will be a season that many are going to look at and say this is the best of Dragon Maid, and probably we're only going to get better when we get a season 3. Now, in terms of the dragon's sleeping habit, I thought that was actually pretty interesting because little behavioral quirks are something that could easily be glossed over, and we know for a fact Toru is someone who actively is doing things when Kobayashi's sleeping or working. So the idea of like what sleep is, and just the simple idea that humans, for many people, like on their days off, want to sleep in, right? Even though you're wasting your hours, you can't play video games, you can't go to the park, whatever your activity is, you lose that when you sleep in more. But it's something most humans really enjoy, and the idea for a dragon that can stay awake for 10,000 years guarding treasure or fighting off evil people, like that's their natural habitat. So why is it that Toru and the others are starting to sleep more in the human world? And the idea of boredom I thought was an interesting answer, because boredom could be something that could be seen as a negative, but I think for dragons who lived a life of like torment and fighting and just always looking over their shoulder, the fact that they can be bored is actually a pretty big vacation in a weird way. And I really like that, just seeing how they're definitely evolving and becoming more and more human. I mean, even look at the comment towards the end of the episode towards Kana. The fairy's like, hey, you know, we don't mix and match with humans well because they're so weird, right? And she says, no, I love humans, right? Even though we're in different arcs or different points of the episode, everything that gets said and the way they kind of combine these different arcs really makes a really interesting package. I think last week we had the kind of comment between one of the characters talking about how like dragons don't see age, and that ties back to Lukue. Here we have the idea of Kana not really being upset with humans and loving them, as we simultaneously have like all these different behaviorals change. And I'm not sure if Dragon Maid like adapts chapter by chapter, or if they handpick different chapters to create an episode. Either way, like that's what I love about the Dragon Maid anime, is that even when you have different perspectives and stories being told in an episode, they almost always connect together in some way. The one that connected the least was probably just the ghost hunting, which then turned into this weird muscular fairy who got kind of trapped in the human world. But even then, it was a nice kind of bow to tie it all up, and Kana's final message did kind of tie the whole theme and message together. And for an episode that really was just ridiculous fun with some absurd imagery, it turned into another episode full of heart and character. Dragons bonding more and more, Fafnir as a character getting more used to that human world. The most oddball of dragons is actually starting to kind of find his niche and his kind of group in the human world, which just happens to be Neets and Otakus, which is perfect for him. You have Toru and the others kind of growing more accustomed to human lifestyle, even if they never used to sleep before, and then Kana just continuing to enjoy that child-free life that she always wanted. And the fact that certain characters never got to really feel like they had a parent or could sleep next to their parent, and now can do that with someone like Kobayashi, it's pretty fantastic. Like, Dragon Maid is just always one of those shows that I'm not usually actively thinking about the next episode after it airs. Like, Wednesday airs, I'm like, yeah, this is an amazing episode, can't wait for more. But it's not like Thursday through Tuesday, I'm like, oh my god, I need the next Dragon Maid episode. But every single time I watch Dragon Maid, I really realize that it's probably one of my favorites of this season and one of my favorites of the year. And I'm not sure, like, what my top 10 of this year would be, but I'd be shocked if I wouldn't put Dragon Maid damn close to it, if not in that list. It's really, really well done. I was saying it a few weeks back, that I wanted Fafnir. Last week came in, dropped some great character development and story, and this episode just said, hey, you're already satisfied, we're just going to give you a bit more. What do I want to see for the last few? Probably want at least one more good arc with Alulu, like either half an episode's worth of content or a couple smaller moments throughout the final few episodes. Besides that, really anything they want to do would work for me, but let me know what you're feeling down below. What do you hope to see before the season wraps up, and what was your personal favorite section of this week's episode? Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.